Yo, yo, yo. Of recent years, become increasingly popular, toxic masculinity, of which I would say is a damn myth, but we gonna get into it. This is an article from Psychology Today. Now, this article was posted like about a year ago, 2022, but it's still very relevant because we still see these things playing out in our everyday lives. TV shows you're watching, how many TV shows or movies that have come out in recent years where before the movie even starts, let's say you know nothing about this movie at all, you know nothing about this TV show at all, you can almost certainly say to yourself, you know what? I bet you the key bad guy in this movie is a man. It's always a man. The man is always the bad guy. There's very few movies that are out that come to mind that have come out in this age, this Me Too age. We're gonna jump into this article, but I mean, it's almost like every movie, and it has bled into video games too. They claim they wanna tap into another fan base. They want to bring more women to video games. They want to bring more women to anime. Things that historically a lot of women hadn't had any interest in whatsoever. They used to call those things Michael B. Jordan, aka corny. No, you wearing a superhero shirt, that's corny. You like anime, that's corny. You like video games, that's corny. You're lame, you're corny. But now the thing that has brought them full circle is you have men, you have young men and men who have existed on both sides of the tracks. Not only did they like all these things that were deemed corny, but they were hybrids. They can bounce in and out of realms, so to speak. They might be street dudes that'll bust you in your head real quick and then go home and watch Dragon Ball Z. So a lot of that had a lot to do with a lot of women taking a peek into the so-called corny side to see what was going on, because women are naturally curious creatures. They want to be nosy. They want to see what's going on. But that stuff was deemed corny. But let's dive into this article right quick. The Myth of Toxic Masculinity. This article is by, give him his credit, Michael Carson, PhD. All right, Michael, let's see what you're talking about, because definitely got some agreement here. The lead article in APA's flagship journal this month calls for a redefining of masculinity from what it calls hegemonic masculinity, meaning toxic masculinity, to something more well feminine. That's what they're trying to turn men into in the modern age. Into D. Wade's son. Oppression and violence are blamed on toxic masculinity, and boys, according to the article, should be raised in relationships of empathy, mutuality, and empowerment. End quote. No, they don't mean sports teams, dojos, or the military, ironically. although it's unclear why not, since those organizations certainly provide relationships of that sort. What they mean is that boys should be less, boyish. You're starting to sense that. Examining the definition of masculinity. The desirability of masculinity, like anything else, depends on how you define it. If you think it means beating up defenseless victims, and I get the distinct impression that this is exactly how APA sees masculinity, then it seems like a bad thing. If you mean standing up for what's right, it's a little harder to see how there can be too much of that. APA, what is APA? Because I'm not familiar with what APA is, so maybe you guys can clue me in on that. Let's see, is anything mentioned in the key points? So maybe you guys can chime in on that. I'm not familiar with the, D. Bianca and Mahalik, APA's flagship journal. Not familiar with that publication. Anyway, let's get back to it. The desirability of masculinity, like anything else, depends on how you define it. If you think it means beating up defenseless victims, yeah, read that part. APHC's, yeah. Then it seems like a bad thing. If you mean okay. Here's one description of masculinity from my detective novel, Little Things. I like providing for my family. Nothing wrong with that. I like being right. And I like sex. Perfectly normal. I'm proud of my success and I don't feel guilty about other people's suffering unless I caused it. Understandable. I think it's more important to be funny than to be tender. Yep. I don't think you hurt my feelings is a valid argument. No, it is not. No, it is not. And that, ironically, it seems to be a common theme when comes arguments involving, if you want to call a man over masculine and doing something normal like trying to talk to a woman, for some strange reason, that's not normal. Catcalling, what they say catcalling is. Catcalling can be anything. You see a nice woman walking down the street, walking in a supermarket, whatever. You try to get her attention to talk to her. Because, see, that's the old school way that men would talk to women. That's how they would get their phone numbers, ask them out. Like, before all the social media stuff and dating apps and all this other nonsense. That was the normal way that men and women interacted with each other. There's nothing wrong with that. Even with all the access with dating apps and getting in touch, Facebook Messenger and any kind of way that you could think of to get in touch with women all over the world. Even to this day, the best way to interact with women is face-to-face in person. But now you have guys that are timid and kind of might not want to partake or put themselves out there like, let me talk. I'm going to holler at her, because in the back of their mind, they're thinking, okay, this might turn into a Me Too thing. This might turn into a sexual harassment just by me approaching and talking to this woman, showing interest in her. The normal way that the male and female species interact with each other. That's the genesis of procreation. There's nothing wrong with that, but they want to make you think there's something seriously wrong with men acting in their natural sense. They're basically mind turding you, doodling on your brain so you don't know what is right anymore. And it's pissing me off, if I must say so myself. It definitely pisses me off. Anyway, let's get some more action going on here. Where did I leave off at? I got sidetracked because some of these paragraphs and sentences trigger me. When people talk about masculinity, they don't mean masculinity at all. Usually they mean paranoia, sociopathy, malignant narcissism, or some form of self-righteous vindictiveness. These are as common in women as in men, although in men, these ills are more likely to be expressed as physical violence, though still at a low rate. Side note. But to blame the violence on the maleness rather than say the paranoia of the perpetrator is like blaming robbery and murder on the race of the perpetrator. When faced with the image of a school shooter, if you hate men, you see a man. If you like men, you see a paranoid person. If you hate black people and look at violent crime data, a disproportionate number of robberies and murders are committed by black people. Side note. If you see race when you look at perpetrators rather than rage. Masculinity is a good thing in both men and women, but is not well suited to every situation. That I kind of disagree with that right there. Masculinity, in my personal opinion, is not good in men, good in women. Even though both sides is 180 degrees as far as balance goes. Men supposed to have more testosterone than estrogen, and for women it's the complete opposite. If you're getting jumped on, you're getting your ass kicked. Normally, a woman that's ultra feminine in a fight or flight situation, if she loves you and she's really down with you, the little bit of masculine that she has in her, she might pick up a brick or something and hurl it at one of the people jumping on you. Whether it helps in the overall end result or not, that form of masculinity in a woman, okay, I'm with that. But overall, I don't want my woman masculine at all. Just properly balanced the way it should be. Not the whole Me Too feminist way of, women can do anything men can do and better, and the whole competing with your man instead of working with your man so you can build something together. No, do not want that at all. Where was I? See, I get on these rants. We're gonna hit that again. Masculinity is a good thing in both men and women, but it's not well suited to every situation. But that is not the fault of masculinity any more than it is the fault of negotiation, rationality, or democracy, that they are not well suited to every situation. That's facts. That's facts. You wouldn't call it toxic democracy when majority rule insufficiently protects the rights of the minority. Instead, you might call it a problem with humanity, a species that tends to abuse and exploit power in the group or individual that has it. Madison wrote, quote, "If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary." End quote. If you hate democracy, you might call the problem of protecting the minority toxic democracy. And you might suggest that democracy could learn something from dictatorships. If you love democracy, self rule, you might remind people that according to our founding document, the whole purpose of government is to secure our natural rights. Another example, wokeness is about waking up to injustice. The article in question is Wokest. It's about perpetrating, get that burp out, perpetrating further injustice on a class of people perceived as privileged, in this case by attributing bad behavior by some members of the class to all members of the class. You wouldn't call similar efforts toxic wokeness. You'd say they have nothing to do with wokeness, that they're yet another example of using power and hate for social and political advantage. Currently in psychology, it seems to be culturally allowed and even expected to hate men and therefore to blame all ills perpetrated by men on masculinity and to attribute the capacity to perpetrate similar ills to all men. Or intersectionally speaking, organized psychology blames straight white cisgendered able-bodied men for what's wrong with the world. That's nonsense too. Just the whole everything is men's fault. All if it's bad, it's men's fault. This, that, and the third. No rational thought ever goes into the blame game. And you look at Hollywood, they going 10 toes deep into all men are bad, all men are villains, all men are evil, all men are rapists, and all this nonsense is this. And it's bleeding through TV shows, movies, and video games. They take out all the good things men have done. That's just an afterthought. The building of society, the protection of society. Because let's not be fooled by it. Our military is run by men in key ranking positions, high ranking positions. As far as the grunt work and the hard work and the heavy lifting of any operation is being done by men. We go to these other countries on these missions, it's spearheaded by men. This country gets invaded, you better hope there's some masculine men left to stand up and fight for the land we live on. Y'all better hope that they still exist. There's still enough of us out there to protect this land. I'm willing to bet at that point in time, toxic masculinity won't be a problem, now will it? And yet, here's an interesting fact hidden among all the memes about men making rules about women's bodies. A court composed of 9 men, 8 of them white, and as far as we know, straight, cisgendered, and able-bodied, created or discovered a right to privacy for women over their own bodies by a 7-2 vote in the case of Roe v. Wade. You know, the case that has recently been overturned, that a lot of working women, streetwalkers, of which used to use it as birth control, as if it's normal, moral, and should be an acceptable thing for everyone. Oh yeah, that's it. Oh yeah. Implications of child rearing. What are the implications for child rearing? No, don't raise children to hate their own aggression. Instead, teach them to own it, accept it, and master it. Like masculine people do. Don't overly tie masculinity and femininity to whether the child is boy or girl. Many boys are more feminine than many girls, and many girls are more masculine than many boys. That's just the tomboyish and dudes that are deemed feminine as a young age. They might not even be that. They might be just quiet, shy individuals or something like that. And see, even being a quiet person, they deem them as feminine. When maybe dude just not trying to rock with nobody at this point in time. Maybe he enjoys being to himself. Maybe he trying to blend in because he don't like attention like that. But somehow that's deemed as them being feminine. So that part I kind of disagree with, as far as, many boys are more feminine than girls. I think that's being, especially in today's age, now that's being pushed as an agenda, which is wrong. That boy has interests he has things he likes to do, but they want to push this. Oh, he's quiet into himself. He's feminine. No, he's not. Stop insinuating that, and stop telling them that, and stop pushing that on these boys. It's not okay. This is where the whole grooming aspect comes in. Like, why are y'all pushing this on these boys? The same is true for other mistakenly sex-coded attributes, such as shyness. Oh, I just said that. Okay. I'm reading this for the first time, people. Such as shyness, height, sexual attractions, and sports enthusiasm. Finally, and most importantly, stop telling kids how special they are, and emphasize instead how special they are to you. The more kids feel good about being ordinary, the less likely they will be to aggrandize themselves, villainize others, or exploit others to compensate for the ubiquitous sense that they are not as special as they think they are supposed to be. Overall, I understand the article where it's coming from. Certain things ideologically I kind of disagree with, but overall I agree with a lot of what this article is saying. I'm going to leave a link to this article down in the description box, as well as a link to another article I came across. You guys can check it out. Let me know what you think, give feedback. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up for your boy. Like, share, and subscribe my videos. Get it out there, get it out there, get it out there. That being said, I'm going to close this short little video out. You guys let me know what you think. If you like my content, hit up the Cash App. Be generous. Give a donation to your boy.